Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another one of them candid conversations. It's been nice, it's been lovely. I hope you're doing well, wherever you are. And we're blessed and highly favored to be doing this again. Yeah, candid conversation, as you can hear in the background there. Wasawe. Yeah, we're on that vibe today. Today, we're taking a trip all the way to down to South Africa, and as the vibes tell you, yeah. Tell me what you know about that. The artist, by the way, his name is Ike Golf, featuring Artello. The song is called Stena. Yeah, candid conversations. And today we're very privileged, we're very honored, and we're very happy. With us is Mr. Bruce Nadin, who's the CEO of Sports Chaplaincy in South Africa. Welcome to the show, Mr. Bruce Nadin.
It's great to be here with you. Thank you.
Thank you for taking time. Yeah, thank you for taking time. How are you doing, by the way? How's South Africa?
It's a beautiful day in Cape Town today. The sun's shining, the sky is blue. And I haven't yet had the opportunity to go out and enjoy it because I've had a series of online meetings, including this. So, but it's a real privilege to be on your show.
Thank you. Listen, for those that don't know about you, right? You have a football background, and you work with the football. You're working with a football club right now, yeah?
That's right. Yeah, I'm presently a chaplain at Stellenbosch Football Club, but my story actually begins back in 2005. I was the pastor of a church just outside of a city very few people had heard of until a few years ago, my hometown of Leicester, and I'd been leading the church for about 5 years. And although I'd always been passionate about sport and especially about football, I'd never actually been involved in sports ministry. And God's opened an opportunity for me to become chaplain at Leicester City Football Club. So alongside leading the church for the next 5 years, I was involved at the football club, and then 2009 moved to South Africa.
Right.
Wasn't looking to do any high performance sports ministry, but God had other ideas. I got involved with a residential soccer school for 15 to 19-year-olds, young talented players, some of whom have gone on to play for the national team here, and one or two gone on to play in Europe. And in that time, I started to get introduced to local professional footballers, began to walk a journey with them. And then in 2014, the opportunity opened for me to be chaplain at Ajax Cape Town. And it was at that point began the journey of establishing a sports chaplaincy movement in South Africa. So, I've been involved in professional football now for 17 years. Okay. I've also got relationships with athletes from other sports as well. But my primary expression and experience has been offering pastoral and spiritual care in football communities.
Which is needed, not just in football community, in the community as a whole. It's needed. It's really, really needed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we all look at the highlights package of high performance sports, and we look at that and it's glamorous and it's exciting and it's enticing, but actually sports people behind those triumphs face the same tragedies, the same trials, and the same as everybody else.
Yeah.
And just because you're good at one particular thing doesn't mean that you've got a handle on the rest of your life.
Definitely.
And in some ways, the more money you have and the more celebrity you have, the greater the temptation to seek your identity in those things.
Yeah, definitely. And you guys do a lot, and you're doing a lot in the community. Just you in Cape Town, to be precise, yeah.
That's right. Yes, based out in Cape Town.
Right. I'm going to introduce you to somebody here. Yeah. Sounds like Cape Town, yeah?
It does, yeah.
Yeah. The artist, his name is Ike Golf. He's based here in the UK, but he's from Botswana, and came together with an artist from Limpopo called Atello. Yeah. The song is called Santana. This is what we do sometimes. Yeah. So just take us back, right? You didn't grow up in South Africa. You basically grew up in Leicester, right?
Correct.
Yeah. How was that? And you played football also in your growing days?
Yeah, interestingly, yeah, I grew up in Leicester. You know, and Leicester's an interesting city. It's a very multicultural city. You know, and so you know, I had the privilege of growing up with neighbours from different cultures, different backgrounds from my own. And I'm always grateful for that, because I think, you know, I've been exposed to
different cultures,
worldviews and different cultures
at an early stage of your upbringing.
Yeah, so Leicester's really informed who I am and shaped who I am as a person. I want to make it quite clear, I didn't play professional football. In fact, I've got a great passion for the game, and certainly God's given me a great passion for the people of the game. But actually, cricket and athletics were the sports that I was actually better at. So I think the only thing I brought to a football field in my younger days was a lot of stamina and a degree of pace. But I think my technical ability was fairly limited. So I don't think I ever had any hopes of becoming a professional footballer. But as I say, passion for sport, passion for people, sort of drives what I am. But like every kid growing up, or many kids growing up in England, you know, the football club in the town and city.
It's a big deal. Yeah, when they have a match, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. Yeah, definitely. But it's a blessing what you're doing, like and dealing with football in Africa, which I gotta say has really developed a lot, and it's contributed a lot to the world, basically. And that's one of the things we say we're going to talk about, is the contribution of African football and African footballers, who now you see some, I'm sure you had the coming back, like the likes of Eto running for presidency of the team, which was a very, very good thing. And just the way they're coming back and giving back to the society, right? That's I'm sure that's a very encouraging thing. And tell me, how is it in the club you work with, right? How is it? How does what type of things you do to the society, the community, and all that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously people like Eto and Drogba and like, you know, they are, you know, not only successful professional footballers as a result of that, they're incredibly wealthy. I mean, none of the players we would have at Stellenbosch in South Africa's Premier Soccer League would have earned anything like the money that they've earned. But you know, one of the good things about Stellenbosch as a football club is that it has a real vision to make a positive contribution to bringing, you know, communities together and also tackling some of the issues around poverty in the town. I think one of the most exciting things for me is when I see players that I've worked with begin to look at ways in which they can give back to their communities. He doesn't play for Stellenbosch, but one of the youngsters that I've discipled, he's only 20 years of age. And at the age of 17, he signed his first professional contract at what was then Ajax Cape Town. And he chose the number 27. Now, you might think, well, that's just a number. But in his community, there are 3 gangs that have numbers 26, 27, 28. And he chose 27 because he said, in my community, this means something negative, but I want to write a different story with this number. 17 years of age.
Wow.
And this young man saying, I'm wearing this number for a reason. I'm wearing this number because I want people in my community to know that it's possible to write a better and different story. You know, and he's already talking at the age of 20. He's playing for one of the bigger clubs now in South Africa. He's talking at the age of 20, already engaging with community leaders and talking about in the future establishing a foundation that can make a difference in his community. And it's inspired by his grandmother. Even though they grew up in poverty, she would always feed the kids in the street who had nothing. So even so she had little, she would still find a way of providing. And although he wants to obviously help his family out, he wants to do more than that. He wants to use his profile as a professional footballer to make a difference. Really encouraged me to go on doing what I'm doing, coming alongside young people like that who have a heart to make a significant contribution to society.
That's very encouraging. That, by the way, that's very, very encouraging. And being that he's giving back. What's the name of this young footballer? What's his name?
But so I imagine his foundation's probably going to be called KJ27.
Okay. Say his name again.
Yeah, his name's Keegan Johannes.
All right, Keegan Johannes. Yeah, shouts out to Keegan Johannes, whatever you're doing to the community. We love to see that. We love to hear about that. And thank you for inspiring them, the younger kids. That's a beautiful thing. Mr. Bruce. Yeah, and like we're saying about the situation about African football, right? There's this debate about like there's enough team that like the football now in Africa has kind of gone up now to a place where people are just suggesting maybe for the World Cup they should be given more entrance. Like Africa, the continent for the World Cup should be given. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think we've got 5 spots.
Yeah,
I think
5.
for a continent of 1 billion people, that simply isn't enough. And whilst we've yet to see an African nation get beyond the quarterfinals, you know, there is still no doubt that on this continent we have sides that and nations that can compete consistently and get through to the knockout stages of World Cups. So I think the argument for at least one more place, I think, is very real, especially with the numbers at the World Cup being enlarged. So I hope we will see greater representation from the continent in future World Cups.
Definitely, I agree with you on that one. You're saying 1 more to make it 6. I'm suggesting 2 more, make it 7.
No, I think the case is the case is strong, especially with the expansion of and I have to confess I'm not too sure what FIFA's intentions are moving forward, but I think it will be good for the continent's football. But I also think there needs to be a little bit more equitable distribution of places at World Cup finals than we are presently seeing. You know, I understand why Europe there's more countries, and the football overall is probably that it goes a bit deeper in terms of the number of competitive nations. But the only way that football across the world is going to grow is if there is access to major tournaments. Well, certainly one of the ways in which it will grow. So I think, like you, I would love to see greater representation of African football at the World Cup. Yeah,
that would definitely be a good thing. Speaking of the standard of football in Africa, in East Africa for a while, we haven't been doing really well club-wise and also like nation-wise, right? But there's this team from Tanzania, I think it was Simba, they were playing, they did well though, right? they did well.
No, they did. They did extremely well. Obviously, I think the South African big club in South Africa, Orlando Pirates, beat them in the last round. But I mean, it was a tie. It wasn't a tie without its controversies. I think both sides in their home games benefited from some dubious refereeing decisions. But I mean, Simba did incredibly well to get to that very deep into the competition. I have to confess, I don't know a lot about East African football, and I think it's fair to say there's probably still needs to be more investment in development in Kenya, in Tanzania, and other East African nations, in order to see the game grow and get to a level that there's no reason why Kenya, for example, can't be more successful on the African continent. But a lot of it comes down to coaching and facilities. And also governance. I know a little bit more. The governance, poor governance, borderline underhand tactics, and that's what is really costing us in Kenya. Because at this particular time, I think we've been suspended by FIFA. I think I have to watch my words carefully. But,
I know.
I think there is no doubt that poor leadership, corrupt leadership, stymies healthy development. And it's not what happens at professional level. It's what happens at grassroots level. It's what happens. It's what happens in the formative years. And if children don't get access, if they don't get access to good coaching, and that requires that coaches are invested in, and that requires that national football associations have a vision. They have a playing style and a coaching style and philosophy that is invested in consistently. By the time guys get to 18, 19, 20, the foundational work
has already been
done.
Football
Education should have taken place. And what often happens, not just in Kenya, is that guys who've got talent haven't been adequately coached. And then they might have the talent to go further, but that sort of stymies and slows down their development. I've got friends who could probably speak into this much better than I can, but I think it is a combination of factors. I think where there's poor leadership, there's lack of vision. But there's also issues around investment.
Definitely. Because investors, look at it like this: investors would come in if they can see there's no vision. Then the investors would rather go somewhere else. And a good case between Kenya and Tanzania. I know you can't speak about this. I can, being that I'm a Kenyan. It's like the investors went down to Tanzania. That's why Simba got where they did. You see what I'm saying? Because their governance is slightly better than us. We are doing poorly. We are under suspension. We need to clean house, to be honest. You know what I mean? But then it's neither here nor there. I know I can talk, right? Because I'm passionate about football like that. And
that's good. And let's pray that God raises up godly leaders who want to serve the nation and serve the sport of football in Kenya, because we know what your country does on the track. You know what it does. Listen.
There is a lot of talent though, so it's kind of like even there is a lot of talent. If God can bless us and just give us a leader or a group of leaders that have a vision and they are they're anointed in the right way. Like sky is just the limit. Sky is the limit. Talk to us about the club where you work. Like a big thing that's the progression of football now is where, like we said at the opening of this, is mental health, right? So being that these are athletes, the light is on them. You're supposed to be performing at high level. There are some stress and strains that come to that, and mental health now. I know back it was people like, you know, I mean, the connotation was a bit negative, so people weren't addressing the issue. Now that people are addressing the issue, how is it in your club, the club you're working with?
Yeah, I think Stellenbosch is unique in that it actually does take seriously the care and support of its staff and players. That doesn't mean that there isn't room for improvement, but the fact that they've appointed a sports chaplain shows that they recognize that their players, for example, are, you know, more than footballers. That, you know, what they do on the field is a visible reflection of who they are, but there's much more to them as people. And so I think the club recognizes that, and it needs to care for its people. And I say my appointment's definitely been an expression of that. You know, it's a crazy thing to say, but the fact that they pay their salaries on time, the fact that there's proper medical support and medical care are all important facets in the care of the person. I think the club's very fortunate at the moment to have a coach that genuinely cares not just about the players' performance, but
also their well-being.
Cares about them as men. And cares about them as men. So I think all of those things are really, really important. But that whole issue of mental health, I think there are people better qualified than me to talk about this, but it has been really encouraging in recent years to see some of the high-profile sporting franchises or businesses like the Premier League, for example, begin to highlight these issues. Because I think sport has done a really poor job of recognizing that sports people face unique pressures, and often you're facing them. You know, many people will get to the height of their careers in their 40s and 50s, and this is definitely not always the case, but may have a stronger sense of self. When you're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, you're still discovering
yourself,
who you are, and suddenly you're not only in this pressured environment, but you may have maybe in the public spotlight as being significant sums of money. And whilst those things of themselves are not bad, they bring with them challenges. And I think there are probably two really important things in navigating this. One is, where are the safe spaces in your sporting community where a young sports person can go and express their vulnerability, express the things that are troubling them, express the things that are causing anxiety, right? Because I think the earlier you start to talk about those things, the less likely they are to do any lasting damage to you. The longer that you walk that road of anxiety and fear, the more likely it is to lead to some form of mental breakdown, clinical depression. So I think providing those, and I've seen that time and time again. I've seen a young person come and talk to me, talk about what they're feeling. Maybe they've never talked like that before, and you know, you're sitting there going, you know, is this somebody I need to refer? And often the simple fact that they felt able to unburden,
to share,
already unlocks it. Already, actually, somebody else is here. They've heard me. They understand me. They've helped me see that I'm not alone. and even though their circumstances might not have changed, they now feel
a
that
slight
they can
relief. Yeah, like a certain
it's
relief.
like a relief.
Yeah, it's a relief. And
But I also have times when I probably had to suggest to someone, it actually might be good to go and get some professional counseling.
Yeah, some professional counseling.
And so it's important that I know my limits. But I would say 95% of the time, having somebody you can talk to that it hasn't got a decision to make about your future, isn't going to judge you, and is going to keep a confidence is really, really crucial. And for some sports people, as a chaplain, I've been able to fulfill that role. But I think the second thing is, I think it's so important to have a secure sense of yourself, a strong sense of identity. And, as a Christian, I believe that, if you truly know that regardless of what happens on the field, that actually God loves you and cares for you regardless of what happens on the field. Of course, he cares about your performance. Of course, he cares about your life. But actually, the world might value you. Your teammates might value you. Even your coach might value you based on your performance. But God is not going to value you just on the basis of your performance. And I found that the athletes, the sports people who have that relationship with God, it's not that they don't face and confront anxiety. It's not that, but they seem to navigate the challenges of high performance sport a little bit more positively than many of their teammates, because they know who their God is.
God, they know somebody got me. They say God got me. God got
and
me.
They know that who they are as a result.
As an individual. I
mean, let me just share this with you. As human beings, we have a tendency to try and get our sense of identity from one of three places, sometimes all three. Most of us will get this from one. The first will be, I get my sense of self-worth, security, acceptance, my identity from what I do, my performance. And of course, if your performance is up here, you can start to think too much of yourself. And if your performance is down here, you might start to think too little of yourself. Your identity gets wrapped up in what you do. Well, secondly, it gets wrapped up in what other people have to say about you. And of course, in high performance sport, lots of people have got to say things about it. It's not just your work colleagues or your boss, but it's the fans, it's social media. And so again, the other team,
the other team,
and then the third one is I get my sense of identity, self-worth, etc. by what I possess, what I own, the clothes I wear, the car I drive, the amount of money I've got in my bank. And they can be the three sources, primary source of identity that will never provide real security, because none of them can, because none of them can fulfill ultimately,
if you're empty inside,
the deep need we have, deeper need we have, which is for God. And the great thing is actually God answers those questions. My value and self-worth is not based
on somebody else's.
It's based on somebody else's, and his name's Jesus.
His performance was perfect. My value is not based on your metrics. You can't put metrics.
It's not based on your metrics. It's based on his. It's based on his. My performance is not based on what other people say about me. So my value and self-worth is not based on what other people say about me. It's based on what he says about me. And God's word says, if I put my trust in him, I'm holy, I'm chosen, I am loved. Not because I am those things, but because he says I am those things. And then thirdly, my value is not based ultimately on what I possess, the house I have, the car I drive. It's based ultimately on the one who possesses me. And the Bible says that we were brought at a price. We were purchased at a price. And that price was the sacrificial death of Jesus on the cross. And so actually, if you're grounded in that truth and you're seeking to live your life out of that truth, then you are much more likely to navigate the trials and temptations of life performance sport more healthily than someone who might not know that.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Bruce. Thank you for that. It's been very, very, very enlightening and very inspiring indeed. I hope we keep doing this. Maybe later. I don't know. We'll stay in touch. See if we can keep highlighting and sharing. And yeah, it's been really, really nice and lovely.
Thanks for having me on your show.
Yeah, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Bruce Nadin, Candid Convo. We out. Thank you.